What's the deal, family? I don't know what time it is. Chainbreaker Squad. This thing fucking to boy. Yeah, man, I had an exclusive for y'all, but let's just keep it simple. You feel me? Uh, yeah, man. Like I said, man, if y'all been paying attention to my presentation for one day, you gonna see that this right here is another scholar by the name of Shakka Ahmos, brought to us by way of Signet Studios. You feel me? Black News 102. And we just gonna watch this for review purposes and commentary, you feel me? And just a little bit more proof into some of the stuff that I was bringing to you guys. So man, you know what I'm saying? Before we even get started,
Told them Moors they didn't want it. I told them Moors they didn't want it. I told them Moors they didn't want it. Be careful what you ask for, because now you're going to get it. Let's get it popping with this PowerPoint. R.I.P. to the Moorish Science Temple of America. Especially Bebe with the feds, who try to go off to Harker. The Harker Bebe. Nah, dude, that you've been wiped clean of that name. You from now on, you Bebe with the feds. So be clear on that. You know what I mean? Let's make it very clear. Taharka was not a Moor. Okay, he was a Nubian. And to be very clear, he was the people of Taseti. Okay, Ta-Nehisi, the Sudan. Okay, be real clear on that. It's black. It ain't just white people that's fighting for the minds of black people. It's also misinformed, miseducated black people fighting for the minds of black people. You know what I'm saying? Hebrew Israelites, Christians, Muslims, Moors, all these miseducated, misoriented African people are fighting for the minds of black people. And like my brother, the General Sawa Sutin said, he said, as long as they stay open, we gonna stay open. As long as the Hebrew Israelites gonna stay open, we gonna stay open. As long as the Muslims gonna stay open, we gonna stay open. As long as the Christians gonna stay open, the churches, we gonna be open. You feel me? Because the war is for the mind of our people and for their hearts, because that's the greatest resources we got. Y'all thought I was only Kemet? You thought I only knew about ancient Kemet? You don't know me too well. I do this. It's called scholarship. Oh, and Bebe with the feds. Bebe with the tassel. Call yourself the Harker Bay. You told me to get my scholarship up. It's gonna be so up right now. You're gonna get a crook in your neck from looking up. You're gonna be looking up like this. You're gonna get a permanent crook in your neck since you want to talk shit to a real scholar. Okay, to a bona fide scholar. Here we go. Okay, here's Canaan, the Levantine area. All right, according to Noble Drew Ali, this is where the descendants of Africa come from. And they worship Allah as their universal God. According to Noble Drew Ali and the Circle 7 Quran and the Moors with the fez. Like Bebe with the fez and them. Right? They say that this is where we come from. Right? They say the people here came from here and that Allah is the universal God. But if that's the case, you got to tell me why, number one, Allah don't come from here. Allah don't come from here, from Arabia. Allah comes from here, Mesopotamia, Sumer, Babylon, Assyria. This is where Allah comes from.
this is the same region as you see Babylon, Mesopotamia, Sumer. This area along the Nile is based on where my presentation is. And he is just delving into another story based on the Mediterranean existence at that time.
Okay? So how the hell you gonna say, yo, you gonna
And today, y'all finna find out when Allah first said something.
say Allah started here and then went there? Nah, bro, I can count. And I'm gonna show you what I mean. See, Samunye's boy can count. You feel me? Allah's Sumerian birth certificate. Here you go. Okay? Yes. This is where Allah comes from. Sumerian. Here we go. You know who that white boy is? That white boy is Dr. Thorkild Peter Rudolph Jacobson, PhD. Right? In 1927, he got his MA from the University of Copenhagen. 1929, PhD, Oriental Institute, University of Chicago. 1929 to 1937, right? Field Assyriologist for the Iraq expedition of the Oriental Institute at the University of Chicago. 1946, he was the director of the Oriental Institute. 1955 to 59, he was the editor of the Assyrian Dictionary. 1962, professor of Assyriology at Harvard University, where he remained until his retirement in 1974. Expert translator, brilliant interpreter, whose insights led to a deeper understanding and appreciation of the institutions and normative references of Sumerian and Akkadian culture. 1974, retired as a professor of Assyriology at Harvard University. 1974, visiting professor at UCLA, helped to develop a strong Assyriology program. His critical edition of the Sumerian King List, published in 1939, and is still the definitive edition. Now that means this is the man that introduced the Sumerian King's List. His critical edition is the definitive edition. His translation of Sumerian poetry and his explanations of the intricacies of the Sumerian verbal system illumine these areas with fresh ideas. So that means anytime you're dealing with Sumeria or Assyria or Akkad, you got to go to this man. That's the man that literally wrote the book. So if you ain't dealing with Rudolph Jacobson, PhD, we can't talk about the subject. Here you go. This is his book. Sumerian Poetry and Translation. The Hearts That Once. That's the name of his book. You can get a
Damn, man, what the hell is going on? Hold on, y'all. Hold on.
The Hearts That Once. That's the name of his book. You can get a copy for $30. Okay? Let's see what it says in his book. This is the back page of his book. It showed in the back of his book, it's going to show you the gods. He's talking about a cycle of gods. It says here, this litany, I'm going to read it for you. This litany constitutes, especially in its short form, with only Ninatsu, Damu, Ningishishida, and Allah, Lugashudi, and Ishtaran, the heart of the Damu cycle of gods, and appears to be limited to the local cults of the lower Euphrates region. Now, if you're talking about the Damu cycle of gods, you're talking about ancient Sumer. Do you hear what I said?
Right.
You're talking about ancient Sumer. Allah is an ancient Sumerian god. He's one of the Damu gods. But oh, y'all knew this already, right? Yeah, okay. We're going to dig further to see about this Allah who's supposed to be the universal God. He was a Sumerian god, part of the Damu cycles. Continue. From the same book, The Hearts That Once, by Dr. Thorkild Jacobson, PhD. That man was the ultimate authority on Sumerian history. Here you go. And linguistics. It says in his book, Sumerian Poetry, it says, he's quoting Inanna laments her dead husband, Dumutsi, Ninatsu, Damu, etc. For her husband, alas, the lad, the warrior Ninatsu. Alas, the lad, my Damu. Alas, the lad, the child, Ningishizita. Alas, the lad Allah, owner of the net. Did you see that? Allah.
See, and when I read my book, you gonna see that in Gazeta, part of that story as well. Hold on. What's up, fam?
What's going on?
Hey, man, just doing a little something that's related to my presentation that I'm bringing.
Okay.
I just want
All
something to do something,
right. Time and there, see what you got going on before I go to bed.
man. Yeah, man. Let me keep this thing going. You feel me? Keep this thing going.
Doing a presentation.
That is a Damu God in Sumer.
I'm watching a video that's related to my presentation. I'm just showing uh, some other scholar points and scholarly recognition, and I'm trying to skip through here through some parts of like see where it's going. Cause there's some parts that I want to touch on, but I'm letting them talk right now.
Go do your thing, fam. I'll put this
Named
music in
Allah.
the bed
We
and
ain't done.
do the same.
Hold on.
All right.
I'll have back on here later if you
Oh, it continues on the bottom. Songs
All right.
of the from the Damusi text. Okay? Songs of the Mother's Search. Probably beginning of the older version. Alas, the lad Allah, owner of the net. Page 20. Go check it out. That's a 60-second line in the Damusi text. These are Sumerian text. This is so old that, how could I put it? You're talking about at least you're talking about the second, third millennium BCE. Ain't no Islam yet. Hold on.
In this time period, Muhammad would be a pedophile. He would be considered.
Well, we ain't talking about that right now. Here we go, right? Here you go, page 84. Allah's name is mentioned again in the Damuti text. Allah, owner of the net. Hold on. We just getting started. On page 53, woe the lad, Allah, owner of the net. This is a god. This is a deity. Just like Horus is a god. Just like Set is a god. Just like or Set is a goddess, right? Well, Allah in the Sumerian culture was just one of many gods. He was part of the gods of the Damu cycle, a particular cycle. Okay, let's go. Here you go. All right, page 491. Inki, full form Intiket or Inketek, god of fresh water. Allah, same as. So he makes the presumption that Allah and Inki are one and the same.
He said Inky, let's go see who Inky is. Let's see, I got a picture of Ingazita too. I don't have the movie. So let's go see. Let's go see Inky, y'all. He brought up Inky. Let's go see Inky, y'all. I'm bringing that back. Let me show y'all Inky real quick. We're gonna go back and see who he said. Thank you, y'all. Thank you and her side. Send some more depictions of this, y'all. Thank you. Yeah, let me mix to that. I just want to show y'all that real quick. Let's see.
Here you go. Page 489. Allah, the Alugula, the Alagula. Okay, here you go. Presumption, Ketek, God of fresh water. Allah, same as Interket. Right? Page 4. Okay, let's go. Here you go. All right. Page 491. Inky, full form Interket or Ketek, God of fresh water. Allah, same as. So he makes the presumption that Allah and Inky are one and the same. Father of Inanna. Okay?
So, as you see right there, Allah and Inky. Okay. In the same.
Here you go. 489. Allah, the Alugula, the Alagula. Okay? So it's the bottom line is that the name Allah is mentioned in the book, The Hearts That Want, Sumerian poetry in translation. So he's translating, this man is translating from the Sumerian text. He translated the poetry, and throughout the poetry, there's a God being referred to named Allah. Okay? Let's be clear on that. Now, this is one of his students. I just introduced you to Dr. Thorkin Peter Rudolph Jacobson, PhD of Harvard, right? This is his student, Ben Alster, okay? He studied Assyriology at the University of Copenhagen from 65 to 72 and received a doctoral degree in 75, so he's a PhD. He spent 1 year in Rome at the Biblical Institute and another 70-71 at Harvard University studying with who? Thorkin Jacobson, the same guy I just introduced you to. So these are the top dogs when you're trying to understand ancient Sumerian writing, ancient Sumerian culture, ancient Sumerian language, or Assyriology as it's called. These are the guys you got to go to. Okay? He was visiting scholar at the British.
All right, but let me skip to this part that I want to get to. If Shakka's gonna go through the whole story, he's probably gonna leave us.
I've been getting paid $1,000 a month, if not more.
Look, they're in the house and they can hear the noise of the gods that's surrounding them.
The
Igigi.
Go back.
Right here. The great Anunnaki made the Igigi.
Go back.
Here we go. So I'm about to read the entire After the Hasif to you because you.
Okay. Y'all see that? After the Hasif. All right. Here we go again. Once again, he references by presentation references as well. Shakka Ahmos. Let's see what he got to say about this.
You got to see what these crackers been hiding from you. You got to see what these Arabs been hiding from you. But the Arabs ain't hiding from you. They just don't know. And the ones who do know, make sure that they hide it. Okay? Because Islam is all they got. They ain't got nothing else. Islam, and they got Islam and they got oil. That's it. Here we go. Okay? And I'm not disrespecting Islam. I'm not saying anything bad about Islam. I'm not saying anything bad about Allah. What I am talking about are those people in the black community who mislead and miseducate and misguide black people about their religions because they don't know anything about their religion. They think they know something about their religion. They hear Elijah Muhammad talking, and so they fall in love with Allah. They hear Farrakhan, the Honorable Louis Minister Farrakhan, they hear him talking, and they fall in love with Allah. They hear Noble Drew Ali talking about Allah, where it all came from. That's where they all got it from. They hear Noble Drew talking about Ali. They hear Noble Drew Ali talking about Allah, and they all fall in love with Allah and the Quran and Islam. But they don't know what Noble Drew Ali did not know. Noble Drew Ali was the descendants of former slaves just like us. He came from a people that were made ignorant, deaf, dumb, and blind just like us. But somebody had to come, little old me, somebody had to come and open your eyes. I got to pull my people off all of the slave plantations, off the Arab slave plantation, because they enslaved us for 1,000 years, and I got to pull you off the Christian plantation, and I got to pull you off all the plantations, the Hebrew Israelite plantation too. I got to pull you off the Jewish plantation. My job, that's what I came here for, to free you. Now, you can either stay free, you can get free, or you can stay a slave. But you can never say I didn't show you or tell you. No, you can never say I didn't show you, because I'm about to show you. So here we go. I'm about to read the entire Atra Hasis. Pay attention. Ain't nobody ever done this for y'all before, and ain't nobody going to do it for you again in the future. I'm doing it for you. Your brother Shakka Ahmos. Here we go. And Sarnetta is bringing it to you on Sarnetta TV. Now, you want to know why black media is important? Because this is the only place on the planet you're going to get this. All right, here you go. The Atra Hasis tablet, number 1. The old Babylonian version, translated by Dr. Stephanie Daly, PhD, Oxford University. Now we're going to check Allah's credentials. Here we go. When the gods, instead of man, did the work, bore the loads, the gods' load was too great, the work too hard, the trouble too much. The great Anunnaki made the Igigi carry the workload 7-fold. Now, the great Anunnaki are the primordial gods in Sumerian cosmology. The great Anunnaki created other gods to do work. Okay? You got to remember this. These other gods are called the Igigi. The great Anunnaki made the Igigi carry the workload 7-fold. What was the workload? The workload was creation, creating. This is Sumerian cosmology. This is Akkadian, Sumerian, Mesopotamian cosmology.
You don't know when you step
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's dark.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. All right. So, you can put it back here. We're going to continue on. All right. The great Anunnaki made the Igigi carry the workload 7-fold. Anu, their father, was king. So Anu was the great god of the Anunnaki. Okay? Anu, their father, was king. Their counselor warrior, Elil. Their chamberlain was Ninurta. Their canal controller, Inugi. They took the box of lots, cast the lots. The gods made the division. Anu went up to the sky, and Elil took the earth for his people. Now remember that.
So at this moment, what he's talking about is Anu, the king, came to earth, and Anu and Lil and Inky draw lots to see who would control what, who would be the ruler of what. So Enlil became ruler of the air, Inky became ruler of the earth, and Anu stayed the ruler of the king.
Anu, the father of the gods, the father of the Anunnaki, he took the sky. He went up to the sky. Elil took the earth for his people. So we're going to find out who his people are. These are
Inky had the water.
Igigi. Okay? Hold on. The Igigi, yeah. Their counselor, hold on. Carry the workload 7-4. Anu, their father, was king. Their counselor warrior, Elil. Their chamberlain, Ninurta, the canal controller, Inugi. So this is the Anunnaki. Okay? So the Anunnaki took his people, the Igigi, to the earth. They took the earth for themselves. Right here. And Elil took the earth for his people. Who are his people? The Igigi. Right here. The great Anunnaki made the Igigi. The Igigi are Elil's people. The boat which barred the sea was assigned to far-sighted.
It doesn't say the great Anunnaki made the Igigi. It said the great Anunnaki made the Igigi carry the workload 7-fold, not made the Igigi. See, the Igigi is just a different type of lesser god that was there that wasn't in rulership, or the Igigi is just a title.
Inky. When Anu had gone up to the sky and the gods of the Apsu had gone below, the Anunnaki, the sky, made the Igigi bear the workload. Do not forget the Igigi. The gods had to dig out. So this is the work they had to do. The Igigi. The gods had to dig out. Remember, the Igigi are gods. The god, like Neteru, if you want to call them, right? The gods had to dig out canals, had to clear channels, the lifelines of the land. The gods dug out the Tigris, and then dug out the Tigris River, and then dug out the Euphrates. Okay? So according to the Sumerians,
No, this guy, I ain't no shade at Shaka because he's smart as hell, but he said that the workload, if you listen to what he said at first, the workload was creation, and I wanted to stop it, but I let him make it. But the workload, as you see, they were digging these canals because they was trying to get gold out of the water to replenish the atmosphere for their planet. But we're going to keep it rocking because we just let the Shaka go. But I got to throw my corrections in.
this is how the Tigris and the Euphrates came into being. It was dug out by the Igigi. You got to know this. If you check in Allah's credentials, because he's the one that guided Noble Juali in giving you that work, the 7 Quran. Okay? In the deep, they set up the Apsu of the land, inside it, raised its top of all the mountains. They were counting the years of loads. The Great Marsh, they were counting the years of loads. For 3,600 years, they bore the excess. Hard work, night and day. They groaned and blamed each other, grumbled over the masses of excavated soil, and then said, somebody said, let us confront our such and such, the Chamberlain, and get him ready to relieve us of our hard work. So somebody amongst the Igigi said, yo, we gotta confront. Here's the key word, confrontation. Somebody amongst the Igigi said they gotta confront the Anunnaki so that they could be relieved of their work. It says right here, it says, let us confront our something, the Chamberlain, and get him ready to relieve us of our hard work. Come, let us carry the Lord, the counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling. Come, let us carry Elil, the counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling. In other words, the Igigi were talking about a revolt. Put it on me. In other words, the lesser gods were about to revolt against the greater gods, the Anunnaki, because they felt that they had been enslaved and they no longer wanted to serve them. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so they're talking about carrying the lords and the gods from their dwelling. In other words, you know, when they get a slave plantation and the slaves revolt, they go grab the slave master and carry him out the house and then do bad things to him. Well, that's what they were talking about doing here to the greater gods. Okay? Now let's find out who it was that was inciting the revolt. Let's find out who it was that's the rebellious voice amongst them. Uh-oh. The Atrahasis continued. Allah speaks his first words in history. Put that on me. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. This is the Atrahasis, written in the 17th century BCE. No Quran, no Bible, none of that stuff exists yet. And in 17th century BCE, you got Allah, the God Allah, speaking his very first words in history. Allah speaking his very first words in history. Why? Because it's the first time that anybody named Allah is speaking words that are written down and committed to stone. I'm not making this up, people. This is in stone. It's the Atrahasis. Let's go back so I can show them the stone so they can think I'm making it up. There's the stone right there, WB62 in the Ashmolean Museum. Go look it, go read it. Go get a plane ticket, go to the Ashmolean Museum, and I guess it's in Iraq, and go read the stone. Because it's right there. The Atrahasis is on there. I'm just reading you the translation by Stephanie Daly. There she is right there. It's in her book, which is the best, which is the most modern translation. And it's the #1 translation. Replaced all other translations. See it? This text will replace all of the translations. So we got the best available text. Here it is right here. What does that say? It says, Atrahasis continued, Allah speaks his first words in history. So what are they doing? They're getting ready to revolt, right? See it right here? Come, Let us carry the Lord, the counsel of gods, the warrior from his dwelling. Come, let us carry Elil, the counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling. So the Igigi are saying, let us carry Elil, who is an Anunnaki, from his dwelling. And then what happens? What does it say? I'm going to give you the privilege of reading it for the first time to your audience. What does that say? It says, then Allah made his voice heard and spoke to the gods, his brothers. Hey, yo, don't the Muslims always say that the Egyptians had many gods, that's why they were pagans? Well, guess what? Allah had brothers. Look, it's right there. Then Allah made his voice heard and spoke to the gods, his brothers. Why y'all never mention that? Yo, bring that over here. Hold up. Hey, yo, hold up. Hey, yo, doctor. Yeah, I thought Allah didn't have no partners. Apparently, he got brothers. Y'all been hiding that from us. It's in the stone, baby. It's in the stone. The stone that's older than your Quran, older than any of that stuff you're talking about. 17th century BCE. Okay? Here you go. Then Allah. Now, Ali Muhammad, Wesley Muhammad, Imam Bashir, Alim Bey, Lord Abba, right? I said it. In order for you to trump me, you got to show me stone. Words from Allah predate the after that. If you can't do that, checkmate, game over. Checkmate, game, African checkmate, game over. And this is not African literature.
Now, I need you to real quick.
Yeah.
I need you to real quick. Just touch on this real quick. Because now you got nigga to damn.
Let's get back to information, man. We don't want none of that. Let's get to the information.
That's something to be proud of. If you want to emulate the God Allah, emulate him in his origin, in his original literature, not that Quran, because the Quran is not his original literature. The Quran is thousands of years later.
Facts.
Let's get back.
Just prove it.
Here we go. Okay? Here we go. He said, come, let us carry Elil, the counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling. Now cry battle. Let us mix fight with battle. The gods listen to Allah's speech. Set fire to their tools. Put aside their spades for fire, their loads for the fire god. They flared up. So what? Allah was a fire god. Look, because they did all of this for the fire god. Who's talking to them? Allah. It says in the text, they put aside their spades for fire, their loads for the fire god. They flared up.
Yo,
Allah was a fire god.
They're going to have a hard time trying to debunk this.
Hold up. When they it's going to get deeper. When they reached the gate of the warrior Elil's dwelling, it was night. The middle watch, the house was surrounded. So, because of Allah grabbed the other gods and surrounded the house of the great Anunnaki god Elil, because they were tired of being enslaved. This is Allah's original story. Have Elil surrounded. This is in the after the Hadith. This is not on a piece of paper. It's on stone, cut into stone in the 17th century BCE. Why y'all ain't been this? Was Allah. And his father is Elil. So Allah has a father.
Trying to get to this one part.
Oh my Lord, your face is shallow as tamarisk. Now hold on, check it out. You know how Christians always tell you there was a war in heaven, that there was a revolt in heaven? This is the war they're talking about. This is the war they're talking about. Listen, here we go right here. So Elil made his voice heard and spoke to the vision, Nusku. Nusku, bar your door, take up your weapons and stand in front of me. Nusku barred his door, took up his weapons and stood in front of Elil. Nusku made his voice heard and spoke to the warrior Elil. Oh my Lord, your face is sallow as tamarisk. Why do you fear your own sons? Remember, Elil is the Anunnaki. the Igigi are his sons. Okay? The Igigi are his sons. Now, they don't say who the female Anunnaki was that Elil had sex with to produce his sons. But we know that Elil had sons, and one of his sons was Allah. One of his sons was Allah, who started the revolution, who started the rebelliousness was Allah, and his father is Elil. So Allah has a father. So how can Noble Jew Ali? Hold on, I got to turn this over here. Noble Jew Ali, my brother, I got to correct you. Allah is not the universal God. We know by looking at the tablet, the Atta Hasis, which dates back to the 17th century BCE in the Ashmolean Museum. We have one of the top translations in the world right here, updated, that tells us Allah, like the other Igigi, had a father who was one of the Anunnaki, and his name was Elil. And that his son Allah fomented a revolution against him because he felt that he and his brothers, the other Igigi, were being mistreated by the Anunnaki aunts and uncles, and father, and mother, and grandfather Anu. These are the factories. You feel me? That's right. You ain't gotta like me. Y'all ain't gotta like me, just learn. Huh? Oh, that's, hold on, bro. Let me get this done. Because there ain't gonna be it's gonna be hard for me to come back. I'm telling you. Here we go. Right? Here we go. Yes. Right? So here we go. So Elil says, oh my Lord. Well, hold on, let's start from here. Nusku, who's in the house with Elil, Allah's father, Nusku made his voice heard and spoke to the warrior Elil. Oh my Lord, your face is sallow as tamarisk. Why do you fear your own sons? Talking about the Igigi. Oh Elil, your face is as sallow as tamarisk. Why do you fear your own sons? He asked him twice. Here we go. Then Elil said, send for Anu, who is the greatest one of the Anunnaki. Send for Anu to be brought down to you. Have Enki fetched into your presence. He sent for Anu to be brought down to him. Enki was fetched into his presence. Anu, king of the sky, was present. Enki, king of the Apsu, attended. The great Anunnaki were present. Elil got up and the case was put. So they have in court. Check it out. The great Anunnaki was present. That means all of them. And Anu was all of them. They were present. Elil got up and the case was put. Elil made his voice heard and spoke to the great gods. That's from the Atta Hasis, Tablet 1. Myths from Mesopotamia, Creation, the Flood, Gilgamesh, and others. Page 9 to 11 by Dr. Stephanie Daly. There is the link. And don't fucking tell me I didn't show you a source. And I'll repeat it again. The first time in my speech, then Allah made his voice heard and spoke to the gods, his brothers. Yo, I want 20 bombs after that, Sonetta. I just showed you the first, put it on me. I'm the only man you know that showed you the first time in history where Allah's voice first made his voice heard.
Facts. Real shit right
in the Atta Hasis. I showed you the stone. I showed you the museum. You could go see it in. Harry Elil, the counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling. So they get ready to flip on the gods because they've been putting the work too hard. Then who? Then Allah made his voice heard and spoke to the gods, his brothers. Gap about 18 lines. So remember, Allah got brothers. Let's be clear on that. All that shit y'all been talking since we got off the plantation, you just got dumped.
I don't have no partners and none of that.
All that shit y'all been talking to the Kemetic community about. We worship different gods. And guess what? Allah got brothers. According to the oldest text, Allah got brothers. The Atta Hasis. Here we go. Okay? You want to hate Shakka Ahmos? I'm going to give you a reason to hate me. Okay? Here you go. You're smart. You would love me and respect me for what I'm doing for you. Here you go. Now, then Allah made his voice heard and spoke to the gods, his brothers. Gap of about 18 lines. Come, let us carry the counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling. Come, let us carry Elil, the counselor of gods, the warrior from his dwelling. Now, cry battle. Let us mix fight with battle. That is the clarion call of Allah. Allah, the war god. Allah, the war god. made war against his own race. The remainder.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna get to this part I'm looking for. It sounds like I passed it up, but I'm gonna play it.
I didn't write this. This is on the stone.
On the stone.
The after I have ceased in the Ashmolean Museum. And I'm reading for you from the Well Bundled Collection. In the Ashmolean, the top translation by Dr. Stephanie.
And this is before the Quran.
Thousands of years before the Quran. Okay? O Elil, your face is sallow as tamarisk. At least 2,000 years. Ask Zion Lex why he didn't bring this to you. Ask Wesley Muhammad why he ain't bring this to you. Ask Ali Muhammad why he ain't bring this to you. Since all of them want to talk all this smack about Shakka Ahmos, ask the Kemetic scholars why they ain't bring this to you. Since they, rolling with me, they on my level and blah, 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 blah. They know about all the gods. Why didn't it show you who Allah was and where he came from? There's only one name you can name that did that. So go ahead and say it.
Shakka Ahmos.
You heard? Here you go. So this is now Anu speak. Not Anu, this is Elil speaking. Remember, they have a court now. Right? Elil got up and the case was put. Elil made his voice heard. So you see, it's Elil speaking. Elil made his voice heard and spoke to the great gods. Well, what did he say? He said, is it against me that they have risen? Shall I do battle? What did I see with my own eyes? A rabble was running around my door. Anu made his voice heard, the great father of all of them, and spoke to the warrior Elil. He said, let Nusku go out and find out the word of the Igigi who has surrounded your door. A command to Elil, a command to such and such. Elil made his voice heard and spoke to the vision Nusku. Nusku, open your door, take up your weapons and stand before me in the assembly of all the gods. Bow, then stand and tell them, your father Anu, your counselor warrior Elil, your chamberlain Inerta, and your canal controller Inugi have sent me to say who is in charge of the rabble. Well, we already know who's in charge of the rabble. Who's in charge of the rabble? Say his name. Who started all of it? Who started the rebellion? Allah. Allah. Okay? He's asking, look, yeah, exactly. Hold on. They say there's no God greater than Allah. Well, hold on. When you get to the end of the story, you're going to see why they say that. Because Allah did something very special. But they don't know about it because they don't want to know history. They just want to get stuck in a fucking book that is a lie, number one, and is miseducating them, number two. And then they want to miseducate us because they think that all of us are so stupid that not one amongst us could finally get to the facts and the truth. You understand? Here you go. So, he said, who is in charge of the rabble? Who is in charge of the fighting? Right? Who declared war? Who ran to the door of Elil? We know that Allah is the one that started it. Right? Didn't Allah start it? Let's prove it.
That's right.
Hold on, we're going to go back and see it. Then Allah made his voice heard and spoke to his gods, spoke to the gods, his brothers. Come, let us carry the counsel of gods, the warrior, from his dwelling. Allah is the one who started it. Allah is the one who declared war. Allah is the one who ran to the door of Elil with the Igigi at his side, his brothers. It was a gang. They was ganging up on their father, right? Nusku opened his door, took up his weapons, went before Elil in the assembly of all the gods. He bowed, then stood and told the message. Your father, Anu, your counselor warrior, Elil, your chamberlain, Inerta, and your canal controller, Inugi, have sent me to say who is in charge of the rabble, who is in charge of the fighting, who declared war, who ran to the door of Elil. We already know who did. Elil's son, Allah. Okay? But check it out. Check out what the Igigi did. And I think this is beautiful. So this is not to disrespect Allah. This is not to disrespect people who believe in Allah. But as your brother, I want you to know his true story and what happened. Because nobody has ever told you. If they did, tell me who it is. Because Noble Jew Ali didn't tell you. He couldn't tell you because he didn't know this. Farrakhan can't even tell you this. Farrakhan talk more about Jesus than he do about Muhammad or Allah. A wannabe Baptist preacher. And that's no disrespect, but it's the truth. I like listening to Minister Farrakhan. I enjoy his lectures. I think he loves us as best he can. I don't know. You know? But if you love us, then stop pimping a lie. You got all that money to do all that research, secret relationship between blacks and Jews. You couldn't do this kind of research and tell people the true story of Allah? With all due respect, sir, and I mean with due respect, they could have said Allah was the one who started it. They could have said Allah was the one who rattled us up. They could have said Allah was the one that told us to declare war. But they didn't do that. Look what they did, their brother. And this is what black people got to learn to do for each other. Look at what they did for Allah. They said every single one of us gods declared war. We have put a stop to the digging. The load.
Yeah, come on, man.
Single one of us gods declared war. We have put a stop to the digging. The load is excessive. It is killing us. Our work is too hard. The trouble too much. So every single one of us gods has agreed to complain to Elil. They didn't sell Allah out. Look at this story you missing. Because of ignorance, put that on me. Because of somebody else's ignorance, you're missing out on the whole story of Allah. I think it's a beautiful story. But don't come and lie to me with your Quran. Don't come and lie to me with your Circle 7 Quran telling me that that's the whole thing, because it's not. My name is Shakka Ahmos. Dr. Joseph Ben Yakinen is my teacher. Dr. John Henry Clark was my teacher. You understand what I'm saying to you? Infadishi is my teacher. Raketi Amen is my teacher. Brother Reggie is my teacher. Okay? Yes. I had the best teachers. The Netaru are my teachers. You understand? That's the part about me you don't know. That's the part about me you don't know. Y'all think I just study straight from human beings. That's the part that y'all don't know about. Why I rock this lock. Why I earned the privilege to wear this lock. Let's go. Here we go. All right? They said they covered. Ain't that beautiful, Sanetta?
Yes, sir.
You will never forget this as long as you live.
That's right.
They could have sold their brother out. They didn't. They said every single one of us gods declared war. Dude, no lie, Sanetta, I cried when I read that because it made me think about us. I said, imagine if we did that to each other. You know how you say stop snitching? They didn't snitch on Allah. They could have sold him out right there, and the gods could have took him out because they created him. Thinking he's a universal God, or you don't even know his damn story. I'm the expert on Allah, not you. And now, hold on. And then Turner came on me for a minute.
They done made God some superpower being.
Bro, let me tell you something. Mr. Ali Muhammad, who said you're the most important Muslim on the planet. That might be true, but the difference between you and me is that I'm the expert on Allah, not you. So let's remember that. With all due respect, my brother, I love you, but I had to clear that up. Okay? Not Wesley Muhammad, me.
Ali might be calling.
Okay? That's all right. Call me. Let them all call me at the same time. I'm not done yet. We still reading, ain't we? Right? So much. So every single one of us gods has agreed to complain to Elil. Nusku took his weapons, went and returned to Elil. My Lord, you sent me to such and such. I went such and such. I explained such and such. Such and such and such and such and such and such. Saying every single one of us gods declared war. Oh, he said they probably responded. They said every single one of us gods. So he's telling Elil what he's telling Anu and Elil what the Igigi have said. He said that they said every single one of us gods declare war. We have put a stop to the digging. The load is excessive. It is killing us. Our work is too hard. The trouble too much. So every single one of us gods has agreed to complain to Elil. That's deep, man. That's a value system at work. Elil listened to that speech. His tears flowed. Oh, Allah's father's crying.
He cried?
Yeah, look. Elil listened to the speech. His tears flowed. Okay? Elil spoke guardedly, addressed the warrior Anu, because Elil thought only one of his children probably started it. He was right. But all of his children sided with their brother Allah. Why they not telling you this story? Them assholes in the chat room should be saying, thank you, Shakka. Nobody told us this. But no. Right. Y'all want to go run back to the Quran, run back to the Circle 7 Quran, because you want to stay enslaved and take refuge in your ignorance. That's not me. I'm sorry. Here you go. Elil listened to the speech. His tears flowed. Elil spoke guardedly, addressed the warrior Anu. He said, Elil spoke to Anu, his father. He said, noble one, take a decree with you to the sky. Show your strength. While the Anunnaki are sitting before you, check this out. Call up one God and let them cast him for destruction. Now you're going to find out, hold up. Now you're going to find out the real reason that Muslims hate Jesus. Uh-oh. Why? Because there was another God that was sacrificed before Jesus that they don't tell you about. Put the camera back here, because your Uncle Shakka going to show you. All right? Put it back here. They said, call up one God. This was Elil's request. He said, call up one of my children and cast them for destruction. Okay? All of a sudden now, you got a history now of gods sacrificing their own children.
Another God.
That started in Mesopotamia. Okay? Here you go. Call up, he said right here, I'm going to read it again. He said, Elil spoke guardedly, addressed the warrior Anu, noble one, take a decree with you to the sky. Show your strength. While the Anunnaki are sitting before you, call up one God and let them cast him for destruction. Anu made his voice heard and spoke to the gods, his brothers. What are we complaining of? Their work was indeed too hard. Their trouble was too much. Every day, earth resounded. The warning signal was loud enough. We kept hearing the noise. So Anu was like, why are we complaining? We knew what was going on. We knew what we did, right? Gap partly filled, partly overlapped by the following two standard Babylonian fragments, right? Standard Babylonian version fragments. Standard Babylonian version. So it continues on. While the Anunnaki are sitting before you, this is Anu talking. While the Anunnaki are sitting before you, and while Belet Eli, the womb goddess, is present, call up one and cast him for destruction. You heard that? So they decided, Anu, the father, decided, we're going to kill one of them Igigi for doing what they did. Nusku opened the door. Anu made his voice heard and spoke to Nusku. Nusku, open your door, take up your weapons, bow in the assembly of the great gods, then stand and tell them your father Anu, your counselor warrior Elil, your chamberlain Ninurta, and your canal controller Inugi have sent me to say who is in charge of the rabble, who will be in charge of battle. Which god started the war? A rabble was running around my door. When Nusku heard this, he took up his weapons, bowed in the assembly of the great gods, and stood and told them, your father Anu, your counselor warrior Elil, your chamberlain Ninurta, and your canal controller Inugi have sent me to say who is in charge of the rabble, who is in charge of the fighting, which god started the war. A rabble was running around Elil's door. Now we know which god. We know the answer to the question. Who is the god that started the rabble, Sanetta?
Allah.
Who is the god that started the war?
Allah.
Who was in charge of the fighting?
Allah.
Who created the rabble that was running around Elil's door?
Allah.
Allah. I'm not lying, it's in stone. It's in stone. Gap of uncertain length.
Do you love Gantt charts? Here's how easily
Standard Babylonian version. Yah made his voice heard. And so, yeah, you got the God of Yah. So Yah and Allah are mentioned in the same story.
Hold up. Do that again.
Yah, that is pronounced Yah.
Uh-oh.
It's an old spelling for Yah. Yah made his voice heard and spoke to the gods, his brothers. Why are we blaming them? Their work was too hard. So you Yeah.
Y'all see how they spelling Yah? E-A. Yah. E-A. Y'all pay attention to that. E-A. Yah.
And Allah was rolling together. They're both Mesopotamian gods. Okay? All the Hebrews did was change the spelling. That's all they did. All right? Their trouble was too much. Talking about the Agigi. Every day the earth resounded. The warning signal was loud enough. We kept hearing the noise. There is such and such. Belet Eli, the womb goddess, is present. Let her. Now, this is how man was created in the story. Check this shit out. Let her create primeval man so that he may bear the yoke. So that he may bear the yoke, the work of Elil. Let man bear the load of the gods. Now, this is very important. Why is this important? Because what this is telling you is that in the Mesopotamian cosmology, man was created for slavery. Man was created to serve the gods for slavery. That's why, so that the Igigi no longer have to do it. It's right there. I'm not lying to you. It's right there. Right there. Let Elil, the womb goddess, let her create primeval man so that he may bear the yoke, the work of Elil, right? Let man bear the load of the gods. So man was supposed to do the work of Elil, okay? The old Babylonian version. But let Elil, the womb goddess, is present. Let the womb goddess create offspring. All right? But let Elil, the womb goddess, is present. Let the womb goddess create offspring. And let man bear the load of the gods. They called up the goddess. Asked the midwife of the gods, why is mommy? You are the womb goddess to be the creator of mankind. Create primeval man that he may bear the yoke. This is all in the after the Hasis, people. Okay? What did they say? Let him bear the yoke, the work of Elil.
Come on, let's not just skip over this. The goddess. They call up the goddess and ask the midwife of the gods, why is mommy? Okay, mommy, y'all. You are the womb goddess, meaning to be the creator of mankind. Meaning, why is mommy? I wonder why we say mom and mommy. Yeah, that's where they come from. It ain't mother. Mother is mother. Would be said mother. Anyway, let's go.
Man bear the load of the gods. Nintu made her voice heard and spoke to the great gods. It is not proper for me to make him. Now, this is what Nintu said. Okay? Nintu made her voice heard. Now, mommy is here. It's called Nintu. Okay? Nintu made her voice heard and spoke to the great gods. It is not proper for me to make him. Talking about man. She said, the work is Enki's. He makes everything pure. If he gives me clay, then I will do it. Enki made his voice heard and spoke to the great gods, the Anunnaki. On the 1st, 7th, and 15th of the month, I shall make a purification by washing. Then one God should be.
And remember when he said, skip right here, gap of an uncertain amount of time, Yah changed his name to Enki.
Slaughtered. And the gods can be purified by immersion. Immersion in what? Blood. Right? Then one god should be slaughtered, and the gods can be purified by immersion. Nintu shall mix clay with his flesh and blood. So these gods, so check it out. Nintu shall mix clay with his flesh and blood. These gods had flesh and blood. So when the Muslims tell you, or some certain Muslims in the NOI tell you Allah is a true and living being, a true and living man, right? They always say he's not a spook god. He's a true and living man because in the original story, he had flesh and blood. But it's not in the Quran. You got to go to the original story, the epic of the Atra Hasis. The epic of Atra Hasis, written in the 17th century BCE in the Ashmolean Museum, okay, on the WB 62 stone. Okay, here you go. Nintu shall mix clay with his flesh and blood. Then a god and a man will be mixed together in clay. Let us hear the drum beat forever. Do you know what the drum beat is? A heart. You got to understand this language. Let us hear the drum beat forever. They're talking about our heart. After, and then check this out. Let a ghost come into existence from the God's flesh. Now you know where they get the whole Holy Ghost thing. Check it out, bro. Let her proclaim it as his living sign, and let the ghost exist so as not to forget what? The slain God. Now we're going to find out who the slain God is. They answered yes in the assembly, the great Anunnaki who assigns the fate. So guess what? The Anunnaki, Saneta, the Anunnaki, Wela, who had intelligence, they slaughtered in their assembly. That's just another name for Allah. Ila, Wela. These gods have different titles. Ila, they're speaking about Allah in a specific context. We're going to find out what context later. Ila, Wela, who had intelligence, they slaughtered in their assembly. So Allah got slaughtered in his story, in his original story. He was killed because he started a war, because he got his brothers together to go against his father Elil. So at the word of the great God Ninu, in order to create man to bear the load, they did so by killing a god. Ila, Wela, who had intelligence, they slaughtered in their assembly. Nintu mixed clay with his flesh and blood. They heard the drum beat forever after. This is the creation of man. In the Mesopotamian cosmology.
There it is, family. There it is, man. Y'all see, man. I ain't want to do too much, but I did want to just bring that part to the show. But after I see, man, you feel me? As y'all see, you know, a lot of the part of this story as well, as you see, and these the name change and shit like that. So you just gotta catch your kids. But anyways, man, appreciate y'all for coming through, man. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all. You know what I'm saying? Y'all already know what time it is. Get at the boy, man. Peace.